I think we're in a world of trouble, Jimbo. And I don't want us to be, but we've seen it all before last year. And I think the football's worse. Well, no, I don't think the football's worse. The football is worse. It's a lot worse.
By and large, it isn't working. Hasn't worked. It didn't work for Edwards. It's not working for Ruben Amorim at Manchester United. It's not working.
We're not asking them to turn into Lamine Yamal. We're not asking them to do any of this. We're simply asking someone to pass a ball at barely a greater distance than I'm sat from you right now.
He's really up against it now in the court of public opinion.
I can't remember the last time I heard a Luton manager being ridiculed with the song of "You're Getting Sacked in the Morning" by Luton fans. We've changed the manager, we've changed the players. There's one thing that we haven't changed, and hopefully this is the point where some hard truths are said. Well, we've watched the movie last season. We know how it ends. The actors are different. We've completely changed the cast list, but we're still seeing the same movie play out. The Town put in a simply shocking display at Sincil Bank on Saturday afternoon when they went down 3-1 to a admittedly decent-looking Lincoln City side alongside me to look back on an afternoon that we all want to forget but might have to remember for a little longer than we want to is the Lutonian journalist James Cunliffe. Jimbo, how have we ended up back here again?
Yeah, it's deja vu, isn't it? The one we didn't want.
I suspect this podcast is going to be deja vu as well, unfortunately. We'll unpack it all right after this intro. Hello everyone, welcome along to another episode of the Luton Town Supporters Trust podcast, the award-winning longest-running Luton Town podcast, having scooped bronze in the Best Football League podcast category in the Football Content Awards. Once again, the show is in association with Solid, providing opportunities, provisions and assistance so our academy can fulfil their potential. As I mentioned prior to the intro, we're looking back on an afternoon which wasn't particularly pleasant in Lincolnshire on Saturday, with Lincoln deserved 3-1 winners. There's only one way to describe that. As I said in the instant reaction, Jimbo, outfought, outworked, outclassed, and here we are 24, going on 36 hours later. I can't have changed my mind, you know. Usually we record these the night after the game to allow all the emotion and the sort of fandom to escape, but it hasn't escaped because what I felt then and what I feel now are the same, because that's all a Luton fan can feel after watching that. It was borderline pathetic, really.
I don't think you're going to find anyone that disagrees with you because, even when the manager's coming out saying it's not acceptable, and then the reaction of the fans in the ground, I guess the reaction from everybody since, it was on telly wasn't it? So everybody could see it. So I don't think there's a way of arguing about the performance and the application. I don't think you can do that. I've tried to, as you say, in the time since, have a think about maybe the overall picture and see where we are with that. I think that maybe the reaction to probably, the game obviously, but maybe like the start of the season in terms of performance-wise, all contributes to the feeling, the negative feelings that people are having. So yeah, I won't try and tell you that you're wrong for thinking those things. Everybody saw it.
Yeah, they did. Yeah. We'll briefly cover the game. No one needs us to go through that too much, and we'll look at that picture of exactly where we are. But it all started at 11:15, Jimbo, and we all feared that it would. We feared it in the preview. We feared it driving up there. And we got exactly what we expected. Maybe not to the levels of it. Obviously, from the time that we've sat here and done the preview to the time that the game kicked off, we found out that Liam Walsh is out for months, having bumped his elbow and done his shoulder. If it doesn't rain, it pours. Thankfully, that was the only thing that didn't happen yesterday. It poured with rain because the forecast was for it to pour. And it didn't, thankfully. And then we later found out that Chris Makosso wasn't in the starting lineup because he was late for a team meeting. That's a major red flag for me. I'll come on to that later because there are still other issues at bay here. So then we've got a team selection of 3 changes from the Plymouth game. Cal Naismith's back in. Ted Mengi, who we're told really wants to be here, is back in. And Nikki Wells comes back in. Lasse Nordos out for Nikki Wells. Gideon Kadir, nowhere to be seen, not even on the bench. And Naismith came in for someone else. I can't even remember who the other person was that he came in for. But 3 changes. But there was one glaring omission from the starting 11, wasn't there? And I said to you in the preview, you'd see a grown man cry. Well, you didn't because it was raining at that point, so no one would have noticed. But what's Shaden Morris got to do to start in this football team?
Well, hopefully that changes for the next one. I guess we'll come to that in the preview podcast. But it was pretty telling if he comes on for 30 minutes at the end and he's the man of the match in a Luton shirt. Anyway, I don't think you can really give it overall to anyone in green, but that's pretty telling, isn't it? He's been the best player twice now when he's come on for 30 minutes. That's got to warrant a starting position, isn't it? It's got to. I mean, if we don't see changes after this, I don't know. I don't know where you go.
Yeah, Makosso, of course, was the other person to drop out from the Plymouth game. Let's cover that then, because obviously it brought Ted Mengi in. Matt said afterwards that Makosso was in the starting 11 until he missed this team meeting. That tells me all's not well in the camp, because players can't miss team meetings. And I suspect it's not the first time if he's been dropped. I don't know that, but that would seem a pretty harsh, immediate thing to drop someone at the first time of doing something. Usually, I mean, we've all played Football Manager, right? Usually the first thing you do is they get fined and then they get dropped. If he's got people that are taking liberties, that doesn't paint a particularly good picture. Hot off the heels of last week, where Cal Naismith seemed to contradict what Matt said in the 2 corresponding interviews after the game, and then you've got Jordan Clark after the game, and we'll discuss the interviews in detail because there was a really good one with Matt from Jeff Doyle on 3 Counties. We've got Jordan Clark, who, he didn't throw people under the bus, but he's clearly not happy with what's inside his dressing room right now. I don't think we're a particularly aligned camp right now.
Yeah, well, we don't know the circumstances around Makosso, but for instance, just to give you another side of it, I was at the pre-match presser and Chris came in. I mean, he can still barely speak a lot of English. I think he can speak more than he used to, though, so he's doing better. But he was in very happy, jolly mood, pretending to do a fake press conference, that sort of thing, before the manager turned up. So I'd be surprised if he's a bad egg. I would, just off that and what I've seen before. We just don't know the details. But, for instance, I'm a fella who's constantly late to things. I don't mean to be. I don't try to be, but I am. But, yeah, some people don't like that. And if it's a rule that you have to be on time, whatever, then, yeah, there's got to be punishments for that. We just don't know what the situation is.
Wasn't much of a punishment though, was it? An hour later he's on the pitch anyway. I mean, if you're going to drop him and put Chigozie on the bench and bring him on for half an hour and really make your point. But I mean, like you say, we're guessing, and I suppose credit should go to Matt for at least being transparent enough to tell people why Makosso didn't play. I mean, there'd have been questions why he didn't play anyway, because the defending was so amateurish that, it was going to get round to him eventually. A back 3 of Naismith, Anderson and Mengi. I mean, even James Collins saw that team sheet and thought, hi, we're on a going day to day. As it turned out, Collins didn't do the scoring. But first goal, embarrassing. It is. Pass to Miliali, don't get nowhere near him. That's not to say Miliali can't come to the ball now and again, but it don't get nowhere near him. 2 passes later, and the geezer who scores, House, is clean through, literally clean through. I mean, the first pass, Anderson staring at the bloke who receives it, and then the geezer just trots past Mengi, doesn't he? And he's through on Kearley, and you knew full well that he was going to score. They'd already hit the crossbar. All right, I think that free kick's an overhit free kick. I don't think he's going for goal. I think it's a cross that cannons off the crossbar. But that first 25 minutes has to be the worst 25 minutes I've seen a Luton team, pound for pound, play in my lifetime. They couldn't pass to each other. They couldn't tackle the opposition. They couldn't get near certain players in the opposition. There was no energy. There was no spark. There was absolutely nothing. And I've never, ever seen a Luton manager ask one of his players to put the ball out for the goalkeeper to go down for a team talk. That happens from the opposition every other Saturday. Never seen a Luton manager do that, or a Luton coaching staff do that. And that was telling of that first 25 minutes, because until 1 o'clock, we weren't at Sincil Bank. I don't know where we were. Bodies were there. They were like me. My body was there, but my spirit was at the cricket. I don't know where their spirit was. It wasn't at the football.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose that shows some degree of proactivity, seeing it going wrong, and then say, like, take a tactical foul and then let's have a chat about this. Because, you're right. It wasn't good enough. It was below par of anything that I've seen for quite some time, and it's the basics, isn't it? And if you're not getting the basics right, then we're in trouble. Now, I don't think we're in trouble to the extent that some people say we're in trouble. I think, we've got 2 games till the 10-game mark. John Still always used to say, no point looking at the table until then, but that shows you where you sort of are. At the minute, Luton are a mid-table team. Now, that in itself is not good enough, is it? Because at the start of the season, saying it had to be in the promotion mix. But that's where Luton are at the moment. And if you can't do the basics, simple passes to each other were incredibly bad. But you can't tackle, you can't do simple passes, then a team that's organised is just going to steamroll you. And that's kind of what it felt like. I mean, they probably should have had more than the one they had, really.
Yeah, there's no probably. I mean, Kearley's made a world-class save, hasn't he, from the curler from Draper, which is top corner bound, and fair play to Kearley for that. And as I said, they've hit the crossbar, and I don't know. I mean, I've mentioned the team sheet. Obviously, Nigel Longwake, right wing back. I don't even think fans are angry at it. They've seen it too many times. They've been angry too many times at it. The guy can't play wing back. The guy is a centre back. It's not fair on him. It's not fair on 1,500 or however many Luton fans got up there for a 12:30 kickoff, spending good money, messing about with the A1 and everything else. It's not fair on anyone for that bloke to play wing back here. And Matt's explanation of it in the interview seemed jumbled. It seemed to say that he played Longwake for his height because they kicked the ball out wide, and then later in his interview alluded to the fact that all of the goalkeeper's kicks were out to the right-hand side, which he was right. They were all out to the right-hand side, but their right-hand side, not our right-hand side, to Street, who we flagged up in the preview. I mean, if Longwake was playing left wing back where all these long balls were going, then at least it would have made a little bit more sense. And then he said something along the lines of, well, we defended as a 4. Well, pick a bloody 4 then, because this 5 ain't working. I don't care how many times people tell me, how many times they tell me, oh, we had 20 shots, this, that, and the other. It ain't working. It isn't going to work. It never will work, because not only have we not got wing backs, we haven't got a bloody commanding centre back. They're all, I said it last week, didn't I? Whenever the ball comes anywhere near them, we absolutely poo ourselves. It's just, I'm lost. I mean, if we're not in a back 4 on Saturday, I'd despair.
Well, yes, exactly. And, yet again, we're back here, broken record, talking about the formation. What everybody can see
not so much the formation, the square bloody peg in the round hole again. It was Bradford again.
Yeah, that's what it is. It isn't working. It hasn't worked for 8 games. I mean, you can try and squint and look at the wins for it, but by and large, it isn't working. Hasn't worked. It didn't work for Edwards. It's not working for Ruben Amorim at Manchester United. It's not working. Now, whether there's something that you're seeing in training that's different to matches, we'll never know. But you've got to take it on what you're seeing in matches. If it works in training, but then in application it doesn't work in matches, then it has to be changed. It isn't working. And I know the argument is that we haven't got wing backs. Well, yeah. So, like you say, don't play Nigel Longwake as a wing back because he can't play it. And the other argument is, well, we haven't got fullbacks, but you do have defenders. You've got defenders who can take a defensive role from a centre half and apply most of it to a right back if he's got the comfort of a winger who's in front of him, helping him sometimes, or in an attacking sense, he doesn't have to go forward. He's to pass it to that guy. We've got the wingers that can do that job. So it doesn't make any sense to me. I don't think it makes any sense to anyone else. You know, at the very least, you could play a back four and put Nigel Longwake out as a right back. We wouldn't like to see that. That's not his position, but you could do that. You know, we're in Marsh House now, and we were speaking to Phil from Marsh House beforehand, and he was saying he'd put Gideon Godoa right back, and then Shaden Morris ahead of him. You know, that he's an attacker, really. It's Godoa, but he's got the pace and he's quite tenacious. And I thought, well, yeah, anything in that arena you could do that would be better than what we've got.
Because the problem that we've got, right, is you alluded to it a lot in the Plymouth review, and you're absolutely right. Luton's instruction is to go wide and get round the back, round the sides of teams and go from there. Well, you've literally got a defender trying to do that in Longwake, and he can't do it. Just can't do it. It's just the geezer's built to defend. And, you know, I am in no way, shape or form pinning this on him. He does not pick himself to play there. He has been brought in from Wolves as a centre half. We play 3 centre halves, and he's not one of them. And then we just shoehorn him in on the right on Saturday. It was on the left at Bradford, wasn't it? It's unfair on the geezer.
Well, yeah, it's unfair on him as well because Mengi hasn't had a sniff of action so far. And if he comes in to replace Makosso because Makosso's had a little misdemeanor, that doesn't make sense to me. Longwake's had more games, more match time. He isn't coming back from an injury. Makes more sense to me that Nigel Longwake would come in there, but then you've got the right wing back situation. But whatever you tried so far isn't working anyway. So that'd be better, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, let's get it right. People can tell me until they're blue in the face that Mengi wants to be here. He wants to be here as much as I want to be on death row. It's as simple as that. Just look at after he exited the pitch yesterday. Took the long way around to avoid coming past Luton fans. I don't think that was accidental. It didn't look accidental. And it certainly didn't feel it in the away end. Yeah, Lincoln must feel Christmas and birthdays came at once in that first half, mustn't they? Because it was easy. It was easy from a Lincoln perspective. We had an XG at half-time of 0.09, which was the Jordan Clark 25-yard shot that I flagged up. I'm not even sure that was going in. I think he pushed it over just in case it was going in. But, I mean, it had to change, right? It had to change. And so to be fair, we made the 2 subs at half-time. I don't know if Yates was injured or something because he got booked, didn't he, right on half-time for clash with the goalkeeper. I thought the ball was there for him to go for, actually, but he seemed to get up a little bit ginger. Came out for half-time, for the second half, and then went over to the side and got subbed for Bode to come on. And it was better in the second half. Listen, I'm stretching the truth.
It's a very low bar, isn't it? But it was, and it levelled out to even Stevens after that, really, rather than anything particularly threatening from a Luton perspective.
Yeah, I wasn't.
Which is, considering you're 1-0 down, doesn't bode well anyway, does it? So, but yeah, it improved. It did.
I wasn't sitting there thinking we're going to score imminently, though. And I mean, let's be honest. I said it in the review, didn't I? But for Sonny Bradley feeling sorry for us, we're 2-0 down, aren't we? I mean, he's missed from 3 yards out.
He's missed an absolute sitter, hasn't he? He's had 3 in 3 in the games before this, and he should have had 4-4 there, really. But this is another aspect of it for me. That is a huge let-off. And then moments later, you go and score an equaliser. At that point, you should be in the ascendancy. And Luton were in the ascendancy. Again, that's with lowercase letters, I'm saying ascendancy, compared to what had been going on. But they'd fashioned something going forward.
Who was that?
Shaden Morris is on the pitch, and that's why that was happening. But when you get a slice of fortune like that, these are the moments where games should turn or can turn, and they've effectively done the bit of punishing that mistake by scoring. Well worked free kick, although I'm not entirely convinced that was the outcome they were going for, but it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't. And
Jordan Clark scores, and then from there at the time you're thinking, oh, we could get something from here. But I actually, in hindsight, I'm thinking maybe it's just a bit of football intelligence or realism, maybe probably more than intelligent realism, to say we've been terrible here and we've got out of jail. We'll go home. We'll go back to Bedfordshire for a point, thanks, and just shut it up.
What that takes is leadership on the field, and there ain't none. And there hasn't been any. Well, dare I say it, there hasn't been any since what happened to poor Tom Lockyer in December 2023. Yeah, you're right. You might have thought that. My immediate reaction when the equaliser went in is, how long have we got to hold on for? Saw it was 77 minutes. Oh, crikey. I don't think we're going to do it. Because they just brought on two fresheners up front.
Yes, but at that point, like I say, Luton were in the ascendancy, so
I wouldn't say we were in the ascendancy, but I thought we were.
It's not the right word. Ascendancy is not the right word, but they had fashioned themselves more of a foothold in the game, maybe.
Yeah, we had the edge in the game, but we, and then the goals too. The second goal is just as laughable as the first one, isn't it? Really, if Makosso hasn't had a bad enough week, he goes and makes an absolute ricket, and once the geezer's clean through on goal, you just got to hope Kearley guesses the right way or he hits it straight at Kearley. Neither was going to happen. And 2-1, you knew that was that. And we made our obligatory like-for-like sub to bring Nordos on for Wells in the hope that something would change. It didn't. And then they caught us on the counter-attack for the third one. Lovely finish, to be fair, from the Guy House, who could have had 5 on the day. He's missed 2 headers at the back stick. Yeah, 1 in each half. And there you have it. Listen, this is about Luton, this podcast, but, let's put it into perspective. Lincoln are an all right side. Are they top 6? I don't know, but they're top 10. And that's the problem.
They went top of the league after that victory. I think, again, people are not really acknowledging the strength of other teams as well. I mean,
this wasn't down to
no, but they were well organised, and we knew that going in. We were talking about how organised they were. We knew it. So we knew they'd do all the basics.
So if we know it, why was it not translated onto the football pitch? Because every single one of them knows more about football than you and I are ever going to do. Every single one of them are 100 million times better than football than you and I ever will be, supposedly. Why are we not seeing it? It was pathetic. I said it earlier on. It was pathetic. One man, we're not asking them to complete 50-yard passes on a sixpence. We're not asking them to turn into Lamine Yamal. We're not asking them to do any of this. We're simply asking someone to pass a ball at barely a greater distance than I'm sat from you right now. And he's finding the middle of the stand, not even the touchline, middle of the stand. Foul throws were coming into it. These are basic football things. If you can't take a throw in, I can go and watch football this morning and I won't see a foul throw. It's not good enough. And I am worried, Jimbo. I mean, you mentioned earlier about the reaction and everything else, and how it probably isn't as bad as what the reaction is. I am massively worried because...
No, I think the reaction is justified. Let me make that clear. I think everybody's despondency by it is fine. I was talking more the bigger picture, because I see some people...
Yeah, I think we're in trouble.
I see some people going to other extremes saying we're going down again.
I'm not there yet, but where I am is where we were last season. Now, let me take you back to the start of this season. It was in black and white. It was a huge statement. We will learn from our mistakes. What was it? 4 or 5 days after we got relegated, we will learn from our mistakes. They're coming quicker this year. We had to wait until Middlesbrough were away for it to be in this position last year. The only difference, different manager who didn't appear to give off the impression that he was leaving, unlike Rob Edwards, because the performance was worse. If Lincoln had a ruthless edge to them that Middlesbrough had, they'd have had exactly the same amount of goals. We were probably outplayed more by Lincoln yesterday than we were by Middlesbrough in that game, because I remember in the first half an hour of that game, we actually looked all right until the cards crumbled. We didn't look all right for half an hour in this game. We barely looked all right for 30 seconds in this game, let alone half an hour. I'm seeing the same signs, the same formation, the same players out of position, the same lack of leadership, the same lack of direction. I won't say lack of a plan, because we've identified Luton's plan. The plan is to get out wide and attack from there. But I'm not seeing anything different from last season. And I think the football's worse. Well, no, I don't think the football's worse. The football is worse. It's a lot worse. And okay, the difference is that we've got a better points tally than last season. I accept that. But we've got 12 points from 4 wins. 2 of those wins were extremely fortunate. The Wimbledon one,
they were.
The Wimbledon one, and the Wigan one.
They were. We've acknowledged that, but you've got the wins, so you have to bank them.
But you do have to bank the points, but you can't use those wins as solace, because you can't keep winning games of football like that unless you're Liverpool. You can't keep winning games of football like that, and we haven't got Alexander Isak to come off the bench, and we ain't got Ekitike starting up front. We've got what we've got, and eventually we're not going to get that piece of luck that Wimbledon hit the ball in for us, or that Wigan hit the crossbar from a yard out. That's going to stop, and when it stops, we get 4 defeats in 6. Now, how do we turn this? Because Matt's interview looked like a broken man. Jordan Clark's interview looked like a man who's, well, you have to bleep this, with life. And I think we're in a world of trouble, Jimbo. And I don't want us to be. Like you say, we're 8 games into the season. We shouldn't be thinking like this. But we've seen it all before last year.
This is kind of where we are, because we've got 2 years of build up, layers of this build up.
But how can we be letting the same mistakes happen again? It's not the same people, but the same mistakes are happening. Something's got to be happening somewhere that's allowing these same mistakes to have. And everyone who's listening to this is going to, quote that thing that some people on social media put, that we've changed the manager, we've changed the players. There's one thing that we haven't changed, and that's neither. That might be right, it might not be right, but something somewhere has to be wrong, because everyone who's leaving this football club at the minute are flying. The geezer who we're talking about this time last year is sat top of the Championship, having not lost a game of football this season. Everyone who's gone to Charlton, from all I'm hearing, they're absolutely flying. And something somewhere is up, and we need to find it out, because otherwise your reaction about us getting relegated again will start to loom larger and larger and larger, because this needs a turnaround, and it needs a turnaround quick, because 8 games in, okay, admittedly I've only seen 7 of them. I've seen 2 hours of good football in 7 games.
It does need turning around, and it does need turning around quick, because the reaction is not going to get any better with nearly results, or not quite good enough results, or we need to learn from this, or we need to be better, or we're disappointed by that. The only thing that is going to change it is victories. Now, that's a very difficult scenario, because I think the games coming up are quite tough. I think the situation we've got ourselves in now, and the league table is kind of showing this, is that when Luton come up against anyone in the top 10 currently, they're going to struggle. And then all the wins so far have come against teams at the bottom. That's clear for everyone to see. That needs to change. On the side of getting relegated, I think that would probably say to me that there's 4 bad teams there, but I'm not going to fall into the trap and say that Luton won't, because that's what we were saying last year, and we got that wrong. But I mean, at the moment, I think it is looking like we're bang in the middle, and that's still not good enough.
I mean, we're talking about a defeat in a game that 3 of us previewed and none of us thought we'd win. That's where we're at, first and foremost, and that's partly on Lincoln, because as I've said, they're an all right side. You know, are
One,
they the best
one,
side?
one defeat in 11. That's
Yeah.
where I was going off.
Are they the best side that we've played this season? No, they're not. Probably third best, I'd say, behind Bradford and Cardiff, and the league table will tell you that. But yeah, they're a good side. I mean, right now they look a much better football team than what we do, and of course, the galling thing about it is they're spearheaded at both ends of the pitch by players who shone for us in this division last time, who I've got to say on yesterday's evidence walk into this team with their eyes shut.
Yeah, they do. We the club surpassed their levels when they went up, and that was right. But you know, this 2 year slide has brought us back down on par, and they've always been able to cope at this level. James Cunliffe's never been blessed with pace. Sonny Bradley will head and kick anything that you send anywhere near him. It's exactly what we need and didn't have. So yeah, they would at the moment because they are top operators at this level. We never thought we'd be back here at this level playing those players. We didn't, but we are, and that is that's part of the issue as well, isn't it? You're signing players quite rightly with a view that you want to go up. That's the aim. Not been stated. Obviously, you want to go back up. You've got to deal with League One. League One is tough. It's gritty. It is the basics before you do anything else. You can't be playing pretty stuff in here if you don't win the physical battle, and that didn't happen. And if you don't do that from the start, then it will continue to fester away as it did for the first 25, 30 minutes. And by that point, you're a goal down. And Luton now, we're at the stage of this season that Luton have only won games when they've kept a clean sheet. Every single time they've conceded a goal, they've lost a game. So if you concede a goal at 12 minutes, everybody's going, well, what are we going to do here? Because nothing's changing. And we've played not pretty bad, the worst we've seen for some years.
Yeah, ever, pound for pound. I mean, conference teams were worse, but didn't have anywhere near the millions of pounds that this one's has spent on it. Yeah. Hopefully, this is the point where some hard truths are said. Not from us two. No one's going to listen to us two, but hopefully some hard truths are said from within the four walls of the brace on Monday morning. I presume that they weren't in for training on Sunday. Someone needs to get tough. You know, it's all fine. Everyone wants to go and work in a nicey environment. I get that. I do too. But you got to get results. Whatever line of work you're in, you've got to get results. And Luton don't get nowhere near enough results. Yeah, it's absolutely fine being all nicey and pally and all this, but you got to win a game of football on a Saturday. Okay, we've won 4 of them this season, but like I've just alluded to, 2 of them extremely fortunate. Barely won a game of football all of last season, or the season before that, albeit with the caveat of the Premier League. We're a losing club. We've got a club that's losing football matches, and the only way of turning that round is accept it, acknowledge it, admit that we're doing things wrong, which we are. We are clearly doing things wrong on the pitch. Talk about off the pitch stuff either later or at another time, because obviously we did have some good news off the pitch with the River Lee opening up, and I'm sure people don't want to hear that right now because they're still angry about what they saw on Saturday, and that's absolutely fine. But the long-term stability of this club is there. But ultimately, it's a football club, not a development club, and the football club at the minute is sinking. And it is sinking. And it's not, nothing seems to be acknowledged. We're just allowing ourselves to creep further and further into this hole because we're not changing it. And I sat here, or I didn't sit here last season, did I? I sat at the Barber Club and I said the same thing. Where do we have to get for something to change? Now, we were talking formations. As it turned out, the manager was going to change. I don't think we're anywhere near that yet. I think fans are past the point where they're behind Bloomfield, if I can put it like that. I think certainly the fans yesterday, the vibes I was getting were that they've no faith in Bloomfield being the man anymore. I'm talking as a collective. I'm not talking as us all individually. And you could tell that. I can't remember the last time I heard a Luton manager being ridiculed with the song of "You're Getting Sacked in the Morning" by Luton fans. Probably going back to Brabbing Money Buckle days. That in itself's bad. Just on the singing, can we please stop with this nonsense "you're not fit to wear the shirt" song? Whether you believe it or you don't, whether it's true or it's not, these players are our players until January now. They are going to have to wear your shirt. It's that simple. Can we please stop with that song? Because I said it after West Brom. That is so counterproductive. It's untrue. Look, we're all angry, right? But ultimately, we all go to football matches to see Luton win games, and we're not going to win games with people singing songs like that. We're just not. That's not to say you can't be angry with what you're watching and things like that. But it's so counterproductive. That's not suddenly going to turn a young kid, and there were plenty of young kids there coming over to us yesterday. It's not going to turn them into world beaters overnight. In fact, if anything, it's going to want them to see a hole open up in the ground and jump into it. Just that is so counterproductive. Yeah, be angry. Of course, we're all angry with what we saw yesterday. It was pathetic. It wasn't good enough. We don't ever want to see it again. But those songs just ain't going to help the situation. But he's got to win fans round now, Bloomfield, based on what I saw yesterday. And to be fair to him, he fronted up in an interview. Listen, Jeff Doyle, full props. I thought that was a brilliant interview. He asked really tough questions, and they needed asking. There was no shirking around the fact they needed asking, based largely on what I just said about the songs that were being sung and things like that. And fair play to Matt, he stood and answered them. Maybe he didn't give as much detail into some of the answers as, he kept on referencing there are issues why we play this formation or reasons why we play this formation or whatever, but never went into them. And maybe now's the time to be open and honest with what they are. Because we're losing games anyway. If you give an insight into the opposition about what we're trying to do, it ain't going to matter because they're beating you anyway.
Yeah, I mean, post-match are probably never the best times to get those pieces of information anyway. If you think back to the West Brom one, we had Carlton Morris down in front of me and said, there were 6 or 7 issues of why we got relegated, but we won't go into them now. And then he went to Derby, so we'll never know. It is kind of raw. I think the pre-match one is probably the time to try and dig down into that a little bit more. But yeah, no, it was a good question. I think the thing people see is they're two different things. People often see the club media and complain about the club media questions, which I think is you're barking up the wrong tree there. Club media is there it's like a radio-friendly unit shifter, to coin a phrase from Nirvana. It's not there to ask the tough questions. It's just there for content. That's the reason. You don't get to see often. We certainly don't get to see the written press conferences after games because there's no videos there, and you don't get to see, unless you listen to the BBC, you don't get to hear the BBC questions usually because it's the club media that goes there. They're two different things, really. I think it was useful for the club to put that one out with the questions from Jeff. I mean, it was quite open and honest, but still, there are so many questions and so many different areas that people want to know answers of that you're not going to cover that. It was a 9-minute clip as well, and you still didn't cover it all. So, but I think it was good to start with, and then you try and ask further questions going forward.
Yeah, I'm sure that will be followed up on Wednesday or Thursday when the press conference is. When it's not so raw, and yeah, that's fine. On a humane level, I found it hard to watch. There's a broken man in front of that camera, and again, go back to what I referenced earlier with the Middlesbrough game. We had a broken man in front of the camera that day as well. On a humane level, it's hard to watch because there is a human being in there. As a football fan, like I said, I'm absolutely delighted that the questions were asked because they weren't asked last season, and we ended up in that boat that we asked that we ended up in. And yeah, you're right. With regards to the club media thing, they don't do the game day unmasked thing when we lose, do they? They're almost as well not to bother putting up their own interview when we lose because it just pees people off, doesn't it? Just direct people to the BBC interviews.
They're just completely two different things. If you're sort of getting annoyed by club media questions, it's just a waste of time.
Yeah,
they're not there to ask tricky difficult questions are the club media. I know that I've got no problem with that. You've just got to recognise the difference between them, and there's just no point getting annoyed about those questions. But my read of it was from his interview was slightly different. Yes, he was disappointed, gutted. I wouldn't use the phrase broken man. I have seen him gutted after results before. That one's probably stung a lot more because the performance, as you say, was pretty bad. And the songs at the end are not going to go down too well because he will realise now, he's a football man. He knows that he's really up against it now, if only against, in the court of public opinion. Because the away fans are usually a little bit more supportive than the home fans. And so when you hear that, he'll know. So, yeah, he's got a big job, obviously, to try and get a performance out of those players. I wouldn't use that phrase myself, but yeah, it was pretty, a stark interview, really, wasn't it, about the current plight?
Is where we are. We're scrambled, aren't we? That interview, he looked scrambled. On the pitch, we looked scrambled. As I say, I think we know that what the plan is. The plan is to get the ball wide, work our way around the sides and get the ball in the box and score goals. But we're doing it with 2 wide players and 8 through the middle. So what I've always said on here, it's a numbers game. Well, those numbers don't add up, do they? And then you see them, 2 passes through the middle, bosh, back of our net. That's it. Where do we go from here, Jimbo? Because we're going to have to go somewhere. I mean, listen, those of you out there that want Matt to be sacked or don't think he's the right man for the job, I suspect you're going to be disappointed because I don't see him going anywhere anytime soon. So he's going to be in charge for Doncaster on Saturday. It has to change, right? It has to change. If Saturday doesn't change it, it's never changing. And if it doesn't change, well, we've watched the movie last season. We know how it ends. Call it Groundhog Day if you want. Groundhog Day 463 or whatever sequel number it is now, but we know exactly how it ends because we've seen it. What I can't get through my head is the actors are different. We've completely changed the cast list, but we're still seeing the same movie play out. And I just can't register how that can possibly be the case.
Well, I mean, there were a couple of consistent factors, I suppose. You could point, and we do regularly, you point to the formation that I don't think is working. And maybe that formation comes with instructions that are too confusing at the moment for the players they've got. The evidence before us suggests that might be the case. They don't know where they need to be. They don't know where they need to pass. They don't know where to mark or drop off. It doesn't come across like that is working. And we've said that all along. The formation doesn't seem like it suits the players. So that's one thing that can change. If you're talking about the personnel have changed, and they have largely, 14 players out, 14 players in. There are still some players that are there, obviously, but one of them who's suffered those 2 relegations, Jordan Clark, he did put the effort in, didn't he? And I think that he got that recognition. So that's one of the things that can change. But the reluctance to do it is the thing that is annoying people, I think, because we see that when they did go to 4 in that game was the period where Luton had, again, I'm using the word ascendancy, but in very small lowercase letters. That's where it was, because they had 4, and then they had Morris, who was given something to go forward with. So, again, like you were talking about in the previews, if you see the team sheet and that doesn't reflect what you're hoping for, then it doesn't put people in a good mindset to start with. Very briefly, I thought that team sheet was a 4. Very briefly, I only looked at it a cursory glance. I was like, "Oh, here we go," and then I could have tweaked it. But
You weren't the only one. There were a few people inside the ground. I got in there really, really early. We flew up the motorway, we were expecting lots of delays because of the Black Cat roundabout was supposedly shut, but it wasn't coming from the way that I went. So we got there really early. So we went in because it was about to start tipping down. And there were a few people come up to me and said, "Oh, do you think it's a back four?" No, I don't. I don't think it's a back four. I think you're going to see Longwake at right wing back, and then I go and see him warming up. And I know that you're going to see Longwake at right wing back because they warm up in their formation, don't they? And it's, yeah, you are right. But what I'm getting at, if we keep to the film analogy, we've got a different director, but it's still the same film. And that's what I can't get my head around. Two different people, both intelligent football men. And, we're not talking about, people who are complete clueless. Rob Edwards, very intelligent football man, worked for the FA and coached England youth setups and everything else. And Matt Bloomfield, who's got a degree. These are intelligent people who are both going down the same trap and seemingly climbing the hill further and further and further to die on, rather than thinking to themselves, actually, we'll come down to the bottom of the hill and go and climb up another one.
Yeah, I mean, it's confusing, isn't it? And there's another aspect that you touched on, which might be better served if we talk about it in the preview. But the reaction of the fans, probably, however you feel about that, may not be the best course of action for players with no confidence and young players as well. That may play a factor into it. You're more likely to be or play safe, certainly in an attacking sense, and that's what we're seeing. The numbers aren't high for creating chances, than you are to try and take a risk. Because if you play maybe a trickier ball going forward and it doesn't come off and the groans go up, that could be a factor. I'm just saying that could be. I'm not saying it is.
But it wouldn't be, because Luton want to see their team going forward. And when they do see their team going forward and trying to attack, then they'll be okay with the odd mistake and things. Jesus, we're watching third division footballers. No one's expecting us to be peak Barcelona or that Brazil 1970s team. We are third division footballers, better than third division footballers.
But there is a lot of expectation that they're going to be doing better than they are, and we had that as well.
There is.
And so when it's not happening, the realization hits you that, oh God, we are in trouble.
And this is the other reason why Matt's rapidly losing faith with all Luton fans, that he isn't getting the best out of these players. He isn't. Now, whether I'm meant to dress that up or I'm not meant to dress that up, he is not getting the best out of these footballers. Now, whether that's the formation, whether that's from within, whatever that is, these footballers are playing nowhere near to their potential. Forget yesterday. They haven't played to their potential all season. Now, okay, you get lines like they're a new team, they're this, they're that, and all the other excuses. And they are excuses, because you wouldn't say them if everything was flowing hunky-dory. So they are excuses. Legitimate in some cases, not legitimate in other cases. But he is not getting the best out of any of these players. I can't think of one player, safe for Zach Nelson at Burton, who's played to the potential that I would expect them of. Actually, let's change that. George Savile does the job I expect George Savile to do. The rest of them, I don't see it. And you're going to come back at me and say the defence was fine at the start of the season. It wasn't. It just didn't get attacked at the start of the season. And it glosses over. And that's why when you use numbers rather than your eyes, you quickly can descend into chaos. Yeah, we've got 12 points from 6 games or whatever it was at the time. But really, we should have had 8 points from 6 games. And all of a sudden, you look at that in a different scenario. It's like I was listening to the Women's Rugby World Cup on the way home yesterday, and England were playing and England were winning. And then the co-commentator was like, you can always gauge where you are in a game if you put 2 tries onto the opposition, because they can be scored bang, bang. And all of a sudden, England would have been behind. And that resonated with me. If you took that, you can dress up every good part to a bad part and vice versa. And I think that's what we were kind of guilty of doing.
Yeah, I mean, you have to use both. You can't use stats for everything. It's not going to wash. You have to use the eye test. Probably have to use more eye tests than stats.
The stat that, for me, tells me everything I need to know about these 8 games, and it is 8 games now, is Luton players have been responsible for 4 big chances. That's one every other game.
Yes. We should say, I think big chances are
Higher XG ones.
open play ones.
Yeah.
And you're right, because we haven't, that's the third game in a row we've not scored from open play. And that's a problem, a real big problem.
And this is a club that 15, 16 months ago were playing in the Premier League. I just don't get how it can be performing so poorly, because it's not, okay, they're a new team, but they all know how to play football. It's not like they just learned to play football yesterday. They've been playing football all their lives. They can pass to each other. Surely to Christ they can pass to each other. If we haven't got that within us, what have we got? And I think the team needs changing. I think the formation needs changing. I think the team needs changing. And if we're going to go down this route, we've done this last season of players out of confidence, well, bin them and put players in whose confidence haven't gone, because we can't watch this again. We cannot watch that again. And if Matt isn't going to get the best out of players, then somewhere down the line, we're going to have to find the person who is going to get the best out of these players, because we're learning from our mistakes, right? That was the line that was given to us. Well, you got to learn then, because these mistakes, we've all seen them, and we're in danger of seeing them again and again and again until we do learn from our mistakes. And the only way we're going to learn from our mistakes, Jimbo, is if someone gets tough. Now, I know it's 2025 and people are a bit more fragile and everything else. Somewhere along the line, a tough decision's going to have to be made. The first tough decision, which for me isn't a tough decision, is this bleeding formation. Go to a back four. Put the 6 in front of the back four, however the hell you like. Place them on the moon for all I care. Put a back four in place. Now, if we go and get gubbed 5 or 6, come back to me, see here if you like, and say, look, that really worked out well, didn't it? But put it in, because we went to a back four at Peterborough at 0-0. We won the game 2-0. We went to a back four at 1-0 down yesterday. We equalised. Who knows if we'd have gone on and won the game if we hadn't shot ourselves in the foot. Again, another familiar story, shooting ourselves in the foot. But we now need to see something. We now need to see something different. Because, like I said to you earlier, if we turn up and we see a back 5 on Saturday, despair will set in, and you won't get a positive atmosphere. You just won't. That's not, even if I sat here and said, please everyone get right behind us and do our bit in the stands, which I'll do when we do the preview on Thursday, you just won't get a positive reaction if we see a back 5, particularly if we see a back 5 that has got a centre-back playing right wing-back.
No, I agree. I think we've been banging this drum for a long while, but I think it will come to a crisis point if that happens. And I think you're right with personnel. That's the other thing that you can change, personnel.
One in particular, isn't it?
Yeah. Shaden Morris has got a start. Where's Lamine Fana?
He's on bench yesterday.
Yeah, I know. I asked about him.
Generally, when he gets asked about players in press conferences, they miraculously appear on substitutes benches. Nakamba did last season. Fanny did yesterday. If I give you a list of people, can you ask for us?
I'll ask. That can change, obviously. I mean, listen, if the defenders aren't doing the business, and they're not, because that's from being the meanest defence in the league going into the just straight after the international break, they've now shipped 3 in consecutive games, and if they're not doing the business, then who can come in? I've seen people say, get Christian Chigozie in. Well, why not? Why not? Jake Richards, where's he? He could be a creative influence.
There's 2 for your list.
Well, yeah. These are legitimate questions. You can't tell me that Jake Richards isn't good enough for League One because he's played 30 games in League One and that's why you signed him. So play him.
I'll throw you a third name, Cohen Bramall.
Yeah, absolutely.
Surely the guy's got to be fit now, hasn't he?
He's got to play. And if he can still only play 70 minutes, we'll let him play 70 minutes.
Yeah, but I would want to know why. He's been here 7 weeks now.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. But
I mean, they don't have 7 weeks in pre-season, so he must be up to speed now.
Yeah, these are the variables that can change, aren't they? That's what we're talking. And yeah, put him in. put him in.
Don't stick him on a direct free kick as soon as he comes on the football pitch, though, because his first touch was never going to end up in the top bins again.
Listen, I said this after he scored that wonder free
He'll
kick.
never do it again.
He'll never do it again.
No.
And don't let him Cristiano Ronaldo every free kick going, because he didn't do it after his worldie, and we're not talking about players in the same bracket. But what Cohen Bramall can be is a left back. That's where he's played his entire career. He even said that he doesn't mind playing a left wing back because he can get to go forward. But if that's not what you've played before, and we're talking doing the basics right, put him as a left back, and then figure out what the right back is going to be, because it's not going to be perfect. But
nor is this.
If you need a defender, put long weight there. If you need somebody that might be a bit more attacking, well, maybe Kadua could, as Phil from Marshall said, we could, but do the basics. Put defenders to defend, and most people grow up with 4-4-2. Hell, Lincoln played 4-4-2, and they were a hell of a lot better than us. Most players play that. Go back to basics. Lincoln were top of the league for a couple of hours after that game. They played 4-4-2, and they did the basics well, and they ran riot.
Keep it simple, Matt. Simple formation, simple football, simple solutions. And let's hope we get somewhere, because we're fed up of coming on here and being negative and talking about the bad stuff. We want to talk about some good stuff. Look, we genuinely wanted Luton to win yesterday, us to sit here, celebrate 3 points, talk about the River Lee opening up, progress of Power Court and everything else. But we've got ourselves into a situation where even a positive of Power Court, people just gloss over it now because they're so ensconced in the negative side of the club, and and that's how it is. Listen, it is good, right? The stadium is on its way. The river being rerouted is the start of that process. The substation being moved
this week
was a continuation of that progress. The piling up that's going to happen later in the year is all a part of that process. But that process is ultimately 2.5 years away from completion, and that's a lot of time on the football pitch between now and then that we can't neglect. We just can't neglect it to the levels that we've been neglected. Gary Sweet was in the programme, wasn't he, saying that the priority is Power Court? No one has an issue with that, I don't think. No sane Luton fan who's been through the dark times and has come out of the good times has a problem with that. But what you can't do is put as much resource on that side of things and neglect the football side of things to the levels that it seemingly is being neglected, because ultimately, where are we going to be in 2.5 years' time? We're nowhere near. We thought we'd stopped coming down this pole.
Yeah.
It seems an endless pole. We can't get off the bloody thing.
I mean, the argument I'm seeing and hearing now a lot is that we're going to build a 25,000 seat stadium and you're not even going to half fill it. I don't know about that. I think that I understand the sentiment of it and where that's coming from.
You're not going to fill 25,000 in League One. You're not. You're not going to fill 25,000.
No. I understand that. You are not going to. Some people are talking about having it Milton Keynes Dons levels.
No, it won't be that.
It won't be that. I don't think at all. But I think there are legitimate concerns about how much importance is being placed on the stadium as to how little importance seemingly for those people that hold those views is being placed on the pitch. And someone said to me that Luton feels like a development company with a football club attached to it at the moment. You know what I mean?
It's just what I said earlier. We are a football club, not a development club. And the development is good, right? It is absolutely good. It is needed. We cannot flourish without it. But it's Luton Town Football Club, and the football has to be so much better. And it can be so much better. These players are so much better than what we're seeing. Someone's got to grab it by the scruff of the neck, wring it out, and get it turning in the right direction. And I don't know how it's done other than that formation change, but those people for whom it's the job to figure it out have got to do some figuring it out. Otherwise, we are going to find ourselves in a battle that we don't want to be in this season.
Yeah, no, we are. And And we can see where that's heading because we've read this story. Or to use your analogy, we've seen this movie many times. At the beginning, I said I've tried to find some sort of potential positives. I'm not sure it's positives, and I'm pretty sure they're very paper thin. But I'm going to give them to you anyway for context. Is that obviously last season was bad. Last season in the Championship, I've took it. Where were we after 8 games and tried to see where we are? So 8 games right now we are 8 games, 12 points, 11th in the table, League One. Championship, we after 8 games, 8 points, 20th in the table. So that was pretty bad. That's probably not the best sample to use against this season because that was mega disastrous. So then I look back on League One, the last time we were in it. Now I will know how that ended. How it started was after 8 games, 11 points and 11th in the table. So slightly worse off than we are now. Now I take your point that what you see with your eyes is different. It is what we're seeing and experiencing with our eyes and over the course of the last 2 seasons adds a different flavour to that. But just as a context, it can turn. It can. We have to see it now.
Yep. Got to turn. It's, we don't want to keep on going down this road. It's not a road. I mean, that team last time were getting used to the level, weren't they? Because we hadn't been at the level for a while. We come up from League Two. This team should, in theory, should be too good for the level because...
Yes, well, and we also have to say that the last time we were in League One, we had the best striker in the division. We had probably the best centre-back pairing in the division. We certainly had the best wing-back pairing in the division, and that's the last time we were any good at that, really, until Alfie Doughty came along. That was the best we were at it. So that is also context you have to, and it's not all black and white with these. There's nuances. There's nuances to it all. However much people don't want to see those things.
Yeah, 2 of those factors lined up in red and white shirts yesterday.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, it wasn't a afternoon that we want to remember, but I suspect it's an afternoon that we won't forget for a while. That's for sure. We actually got some correct score predictions from that game. 4 score predictions that were bang on yesterday. So we had Scotty Pip 1976. Bear with me, I'm looking down at my phone to get them. I've lost my notes, which is a little bit annoying. We have Darren Smith 7400. Craig Clark was another one. I'm sure none of you wanted to be spot on with this, but hey, there was lots of 3-1s going the other way, Jimbo, but obviously that was a little bit optimistic. And Gary McMordy was the other one, 4 of you, which will get 3 points on our leaderboard, which is about to appear on our screen right now. That is pretty much it for this podcast. Unfortunately, it couldn't be a little bit more positive than it was, but there really was nothing positive about yesterday. Well, actually, Jimbo, I lie. There was something positive about yesterday. Full-time whistle, and it couldn't go soon enough.
Well,
it didn't go soon.
It went to 100 minutes.
Yeah, it didn't go soon enough, did it? And there it is. Yeah. Got to be better, Town. Got to be better. Thanks to everyone for the support of the podcast. Loads of you came up to me yesterday and mentioned how much you're liking the podcast and thanked us for doing it, and we'll keep on doing it for sure.
I was at Whipsnade Zoo earlier today and somebody came up to me in the aquarium bit and said hello and said he'd liked what we were doing, so that was nice. So sorry I didn't get your name, but thank you. Greatly appreciated that.
Absolutely, yeah. Do appreciate all of the support, as we do the folks at Marsh House, the proud new home of the Luton Town Supporters Trust podcast. And of course to Sean Grant and the Wolfgang for our intro music. Until next time, where we'll try and be a little bit more positive ahead of the game against Doncaster Rovers on Saturday. From Jimbo and myself, never, ever, ever let that play out again, Town, please.